Hello everyone, very good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining today's workshop. My name is Vipin Satyan and I am the pre-sales consultant for the AD Solutions team here at ManageEngine. Now this is going to be the fifth workshop and the last workshop in our ADManager Plus workshop series. Now over the past few weeks, workshop 1, 2, 3 and 4, we covered various topics pertaining to ADManager Plus, and we saw how to manage Active Directory effectively using this tool, which is ADManager Plus. For instance, week number 1, we saw how to create user accounts in Active Directory. So when I say create user accounts in Active Directory, we discussed about 360-degree user provisioning. So how do you create an AD account, at the same time enable Exchange, enable Link, and even Office 365 using the application without having to use complex scripts like VB or PowerShell. Okay, so that was week number 1. And week 2, we saw how to modify users. So when I say modify users, how do you reset password? How do you modify the group membership? How do you manage permissions? And how do you move users from one OU to another? How do you decommission a file server? And at the time of decommissioning a file server, how do you move home folders from one location to another? And how do you delete users, and how do you restore delete users? So it was all about managing objects in Active Directory. So that was week 2. Now week 3, we saw how to delegate tasks in Active Directory and how to implement an Active Directory workflow. So when I say delegate tasks in Active Directory, you create customized roles within the application and then you map it to a specific user in your Active Directory structure. Okay, so that was the delegation part. And how do you do it securely with all the restrictions that you want? And talking about workflow, if you'd like to implement a request and approve methodology in Active Directory, so instead of the users performing action directly by logging into your Active Directory, if you want them to raise a request and you as administrators review and approve the request, you have it in workflow. And we saw how to implement business workflow using ADManager Plus. And week 4, the last week, was all about reports. How do you get crucial information out from Active Directory with just a few mouse clicks? And how do you find out inactive accounts? How do you find out users with multiple group membership, nested group membership, inappropriate group membership? So it was all about reports and how do you perform a permission cleanup. So now, workshop number 5, we are going to focus on an interesting topic, which is going to be automation. Okay, so I said that this is going to be the last workshop. Just to let you know, the response and the feedback that we have got from you have been tremendous. Thank you so much for that. And the kind of response that we have got from you is something unimaginable. And we are motivated so much that we have plans to conduct many more workshops and even better workshops in future. And we will definitely keep you posted. And we would love to have you participate in such sessions. So yes, now I was talking about automation. So the agenda for today's session is going to be automation, and within automation we are going to start with automating user provisioning process. For instance, the HR just creates a simple file with the first name and the last name of the user account and then saves it in a network location. And you tell the application, which is ADManager Plus, to go to the network path, read the information from the file, and then create user accounts in Active Directory on a stipulated date and time, okay, on a defined date and time. So we're going to see how to achieve that using ADManager Plus. And the second task is cleanup. Cleanup in the sense, how do you remove? First, how do you find out inactive users in your Active Directory domain, and how do you separate them from the rest of your active users, and how to perform a permission cleanup for those users for security reasons, and how do you purge those accounts? So that's going to be automated, or that can be automated using ADManager Plus, and I'll show you how to do that in a short while. And the third one is provide temporary access for users to business data. For example, you might have users requesting permission in order to access a certain application. So you as administrators, what you do is you add those users to a specific security group. And the problem arises not in the assigning part, but when you forget to revoke the permission that you granted, and as days pass by, then the permission that a normal user account has in Active Directory is going to be completely out of balance. So we are going to see an effective method or an automated way how to assign and at the same time revoke permissions that you grant to your user accounts in Active Directory. And the last thing is we'll be introducing to you the mobile apps of ADManager Plus. We have mobile apps for iPhone as well as the Android operating systems. Okay, and few troubleshooting tips and tricks, and how do you maintain how do you make sure that the reports that you see or that you get using ADManager Plus is accurate. So we're going to have a look at those topics today. So without any further delay, let me dive into today's workshop, and we will be starting with automation. Okay, so I would request you to have a look at the screen, and if you have any questions, you can always use the chat window that you have on the screen. So I'll do my best to answer all your questions, and if I do not answer certain questions, I'll make sure to reply to you via emails. Okay, so I log into the application. Okay, so you have these many tabs. So we focused on all these tabs in our previous workshops. Now this workshop, we will be talking more about automation. So I go to automation. And if I go to automation, you might notice two links here, automation and automation policy. I'll tell you the difference between these two links in a short while. But the first task is we are going to automate the user provisioning process. And how do you do that? You go to automation, and then you go to create new automation right here. And the task that we are going to automate is user creation. Let's say I'm going to create an automation for user object creation for the IT department. Okay, user creation for IT department. And you have multiple categories that you can automate. You have user automation, computer, group, and contact. But for now, we're just going to focus on user automation. So user automation. And what are we going to do? We are going to automate user provisioning. You have it right here. Create users. Okay. Now it looks like we need to load a template and a CSV file. So before moving any further, I'm just going to introduce you to the template and the CSV file, and I'll show you how to build a template and the CSV file. We have covered this in workshop number 1 of our series. However, if there are any new attendees for today's workshop, it's just going to be a quick recap. So I'm going to show you how to build a template and how to create a CSV file. Now, this template and CSV file will be used in order to populate all the attributes for the user accounts that you're trying to create in Active Directory. Okay, so it's better that we understand the concept of creating a template and a CSV file in detail. So a quick recap. So in order to create a template, the tab that I need to go to is right here, AD Management. For now, I'm just going to pause the automation part, and I'm going back to the AD Management tab right here. AD Management, and we are now going to build a template. Okay, in order to create a template, I need to go to the User Creation Template section. So you go to AD Management, User Management, User Creation Templates. Okay, so as you can see here, I've created 3 templates. One for the finance department, one for the marketing department, and the other one for sales department. So if the HR recruits employees for any of these departments, all I need to do is just load the template instead of filling the values of user attributes one by one. Now this is going to save a lot of time for the administrators. And not only that, the best part is you as an administrator can maintain uniformity in the accounts that you are creating in your Active Directory structure. Okay, let me show you how to maintain uniformity. So let's build a template for the IT department. So I go to create new template. Okay, so template for the IT department. Okay, so in case if you have configured multiple domains in the application and you're managing multiple domains through ADManager Plus, just make sure to choose the right domain here. So I've configured multiple domains, so I'm just going to switch domains. Okay. All right, so I'm going to name the template, so template for the IT department. So now we are going to define the template. Now please note that this creation is going to be a one-time process. You need not create a template every time you have a requirement of creating user accounts in the IT team. So once you create a template for the IT department, you can simply load this template any number of times for creating user accounts in Active Directory. So if you are not going to use the template and if you're trying to create user accounts in Active Directory with all these attributes, let's assume that it's going to take you 10 minutes to create user accounts, one user account. Okay, so whereas if you are going to use the template is going to reduce the time by 90%. So which means you will be able to complete the user provisioning process in a matter of few seconds. So that's how powerful this application is. So let me quickly build a template right here. So template for the IT department. And you can define the naming format, and this is how you can maintain uniformity. For instance, if you want the logon name attribute to be uniform for all the user accounts created in the IT department, you just hit the drop-down list here and pick and choose any one format that you see here. So if you don't find your matching format right here, you can very well create your own naming format by going to the link given right here. So create your own naming format. You have an option to do that as well. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the format which reads naming for format for IT users. Okay, so I want you to have a look at the example given right here, because for any format that I choose, the example will be changing. Okay, will be displayed right here. So right now the logon name of the user accounts are going to be something like first name without a space last name @domain.com. And if I don't want that, if I'd like to change it, so I choose a different format, naming format for IT users. Okay, so it looks like the first initial and the entire last name @domain.com is going to be the naming format for IT users. And if I'd like to apply the same for the other naming attributes, all I need to do is just hit the respective drop-down box and then choose the format. Naming for IT users. Naming for IT users. And I can do this for any naming attribute that I have in my template. Okay, so you have it right here, and you have a lot more that you can configure. If you go to the account tab, this is where you decide the password attribute for the user accounts. So if you go with a common password for all your user accounts, and if you want them to change their password as soon as they log in for the first time, all you need to do is just configure a common password here, confirm it, and then just go ahead and select the checkbox which reads user must change password at next logon. So the first day a user enters into the organization, the user will be typing the common password that the HR will be passing it on, and as soon as they log in to their systems, to their PCs with the common password, they will be prompted to change their password or customize their password. Okay, so, and this is where you go to define the group membership. So if you want the member of belonging to the IT team to be a part of 5 different groups, you just hit edit and you have a pop-up window here. So you have the available groups in the left hand side and the selected groups. For now, domain users is selected. If you'd like to add few more groups which are relevant for the IT department, so you just go ahead and add the groups, hit OK. Okay, and if you need to define the profile path and the home folder, you can do so. The home folder can either be in the local path or it can be in a network path. And if it is in a network path, you can even define the permissions as well. Okay, and the best part here is Exchange. So if you'd like to enable or create a mailbox for the user account that you're going to create for the IT department, you just hit Mailbox Enable User. And this gives you the entire list of Exchange attributes that you can populate for your user accounts. Okay, for now we're just going to create a user without a mailbox. And the same holds good for link as well. If you need to enable link without having to toggle between multiple windows, you just go to the link tab and you have an option to enable LCS OCS account or the Skype or the link service account. So you just pick and choose the settings, the zip format, and if you want the same naming format that you applied for the other attributes, for other naming attributes, you can choose that as well. And then go ahead and save the template. Okay, now before saving the template, now that we are on the template section, I'd like to show you an additional feature which we discussed in our first workshop. So you have these many tabs. Now this template can be delegated to anyone belonging to your Active Directory structure. So it can be a HR, it can be an IT help desk, it can be an IT technician or an IT administrator. Depending on the role that they possess in Active Directory, the templates can be customized. For instance, if you are going to delegate this template to a HR, the HR might not need the Exchange tab, the Terminal Service tab, the OCS or link or custom attributes, or any of the advanced configurations here. And how do you remove a tab from the layout? Very simple, you have something called enable drag and drop. So in order to customize the layout, you go to enable drag and drop. You hit enable drag and drop, and if you feel that the link tab shouldn't be there in the layout, you just hit delete tab, hit OK. And this is the same for attributes as well. If you feel that the web page attribute shouldn't be in the layout, you just hit delete and hit OK. Now please note that the attributes or the tabs that you delete from this layout aren't deleted forever. So whatever you delete will be placed in the field tray in the left hand side. And if you need to bring this back to the layout, just hold it and drag and drop. Okay, so that's it. And whenever you are applying a template, the biggest advantage of using a template is not only customization, but this allows you to deal with duplicate attributes. Say for instance, if you create a user named John Smith on day one, and if you are going to recruit another user with the same name, and if you need to create an AD account for that user belonging to the same department, so if you try to create it using Active Directory, there's going to be an error message stating the username already exists. So in order to avoid that, we have a smart way of dealing with duplicates. For instance, if you'd like to check for duplicate in the logon name attribute, you just edit the attribute, and if you scroll down, you have an option which reads check for duplicates. You can check for duplicates in the domain level. If you have multiple domains configured, you can even perform a forest-wide check. You do that and you have three choices to deal with duplicates. You can pick and choose the one that suits you. So you can apply a different naming format as and when a duplicate entry is found. So you can maybe go with a different naming format for the duplicate account, or you can append numbers to the duplicate entry. So if the first user is johnsmith@domain.com, the duplicate entry would be johnsmith2@domain.com. Or you can simply go ahead and throw an error message in the user interface, just like the Active Directory interface, creating don't create a user. So you would be getting a clear error message stating that an account with the name already exists. So you have three options. Okay. And if you need to set an attribute, a non-mandatory attribute in Active Directory as mandatory, without extending the schema, that's the best part here. We are not going to touch the schema, but still make or set an attribute as mandatory. So for instance, if you don't want the HR to skip the user provisioning process or the IT technician to skip the user provisioning process without filling the employee ID attribute, so how do you do that? You just hit edit, you set the attribute as mandatory and hit done. So you notice that the color of the font has now changed from black to red, which means that the attribute is now mandatory in this layout. And if you are going to apply this template or delegate this template to another user belonging to your Active Directory structure, they will not be able to complete the user provisioning process without filling the employee ID attribute. So this is how you customize the template. So let's just go ahead and save this template. Okay, so the name of the template is going to be template for the IT department. All right, so we have all the configurations in place, Exchange, Link, Office 365 and everything. And I can even decide the OU in which the account is to be created. So if I need to change, I just hit the edit sign right here. For now, I'm going to save the template. Perfect. So now we have 4 templates, one for finance, one for IT, one for marketing, and one for sales. And we are going to use the template for the IT department for our automation use case. Okay. Now I told you that there are 2 important things that we need to know when you have a requirement of automating user provisioning. The first one was building a template, and the second one was building a CSV file or creating a CSV file. Now, in order to create a CSV file, all you need to do is just open a notepad, a very simple notepad with 2 headers. That's it. And that's it. So the second step is over. So then the 2 headers are going to be given name, comma, SN. And as you might notice, this is not first name and last name. So this is something given name and SN. So the format that you see here is going to be an LDAP format. And why do you need to have LDAP format in a CSV file? Can I just type first name and then last name? So can I just create a CSV file with first name, comma, last name, and then import the CSV file or then invoke the CSV file in the automation? No. You cannot import a CSV file with just first name and last name as headers. Instead, you need to provide the respective LDAP headers for first name and last name right here. And why do you need to do this? Because if you want the automation to talk to your Active Directory domain controllers, you need to make sure that the input that you provide is understandable by your domain controllers. So the domain controllers will only understand LDAP headers, and that is why we have given name instead of first name and we have SN instead of last name. And if you are confused in order to build a CSV file, in order to find the right LDAP mappings for attributes in Active Directory, do not worry, we have a reference document. And where is the reference document? So you go to the help link, you have a help link in the top right corner. You go to the help link and you have a section for importing CSV files. So you go to CSV import, create users using CSV, and you have the reference document right here, list of LDAP attributes supported. So you just go to the link, you have it right here, name in Active Directory and its corresponding LDAP attribute, which is the header in the CSV file. So if you need to populate the first name, or if you need to pass the first name or the last name of the user account, you need to make sure that the CSV file that you use has given name and not first name. Okay, and SN and not last name. And if you need to populate few other attributes, you can just go through the list and you'll find the right mappings. Okay, for now I'm just going to keep it simple because the HR need not fill complex attributes. All the HR needs to do is just type the first name and the last name of the user account and save this file in a network path that is accessible by the application. I'll tell you how to invoke this CSV file from the network path. Okay. So you as administrators now are all set for automating user provisioning because we have created a template and also we have created a CSV file and that we have saved it in a network path. All the HR needs to do is just fill the values in the CSV file, and I'll tell you how to automate things. Now that we have created the 2 important things that we require to automate user provisioning, we go to automation and then we create a new automation. You can create any number of automation. We do not have restrictions on the number of automations that you can create. So I'm going to create an automation for user provisioning in the IT team. So user creation for the IT department. Okay. Once again, you need to make sure that you choose the right domain in case you have multiple domains configured. So I choose the right domain, and then user creation for the IT department. And we are trying to automate user creation. So I choose the automation task, our policy right here, user creation. And now if you just hit the drop down box, you will find the template that we just created, which is template for the IT department. So we have now loaded the template, but we have still not specified the first name and the last name of the user accounts, for which we already created a CSV file and we saved it in a network path. And let's assume that the HR has populated the first name and the last name of 5 user accounts belonging to the IT department or recruited for the IT department. All you need to do is just go ahead and specify the location of the CSV file. The format is given right here. You specify the name of the server, the share, and the folder inside which you can have any number of CSV files. And the application is smart enough to go to the recent file in case you have multiple files, and then read the first name and the last name of the user accounts from the file, and then create user accounts in Active Directory with all the attributes that you have defined in the template. So this is how you automate user provisioning. And if you want this user provisioning task to be run for, let's say, on a daily basis, yes, you can set it to daily or weekly, monthly, or for any specific date and time. Okay, now let's just go ahead and schedule this for a daily basis. So daily at 10 a.m. So this automation will go to the network path that we have defined. It would read the first name and the last name of the user accounts, and then it would apply the template and apply all the values that we have defined in the template, and it would create user accounts in Active Directory. So that's how the automation of user provisioning works in ADManager Plus. Okay, and you have a small checkbox here which reads select only appended objects from the file. So in case you are going to use only one CSV file and not one file each day, so if you just keep appending the list, if you select the checkbox, the application will look for the latest entry so that it does not create any duplicate entry. I'm sorry, it wouldn't create any duplicate entry. You just go ahead and select the checkbox so that the application would look for the latest entry and provision that account in Active Directory. Okay, now you might be a bit concerned because leaving the user creation part to an application or to any script for that matter is going to be a bit of a concern, at least for some of you. Okay, if that's the case, if you'd like to review a request that is raised by the tool for user creation and then approve it so that the accounts get created in Active Directory, something like a request and approve methodology, you can always link the automation process to the workflow that we have within ADManager Plus, which is the Active Directory workflow. Now, if you need to do that, all you need to do is just select the checkbox right here. Now, we covered in detail about the workflow section in our third workshop, so the video of which is available online, and we'd be more than happy to share those videos with you upon request. Okay, so if you implement business workflow for an automation, so let's assume that I have linked the user creation process to the workflow. A request will be raised for user provisioning, and that request will be forwarded to the members that we have configured in the workflow section. Let's assume that they are going to be administrators. Okay, so the administrators will be notified stating that a request has been raised by the tool for user creation for, let's say, creating 5 accounts, and you will be able to view the list of all those accounts. And then if you find any modification, or if you feel that the accounts need to be modified, you can maybe modify them and hit create. So once you hit create account, the accounts will get created in Active Directory. Or if you feel that you can leave the creation part to the application itself, you can leave it unchecked. Okay, so this is how you automate stuff in Active Directory. And we are not done yet. We have another task that we will be talking about in the automation piece, which is Active Directory cleanup. How do you find out stale accounts in Active Directory and how do you remove them sequentially? you have something called automation policy for that. So the difference between automation and automation policy is if it's just going to be a one-step process, something like create or something like delete, so you go with automation. If it's going to be a sequence of operation that you would like to define, let's assume that you'd like to disable and then move users and then remove them from groups. So if it's going to be a sequence of Active Directory actions, then you define a policy. Okay, so let's just go ahead and create a policy for user creation. I'm sorry, cleaning up Active Directory. So for which I go to automation policy. Okay, so I create a new automation policy. I'm going to name it as okay, removing inactive users from AD. Okay, and the inactivity time period is going to be 120 days. Okay, so the automation sequence is going to contain 3 stages. Okay, first I'm going to find out the list of users who are inactive or who have not logged into my Active Directory structure for the past 120 days, and then I would like to separate them from the active users, which means I'm going to move those users, move those inactive accounts to a separate OU. Let's assume that I've already created an inactive users OU in my Active Directory structure. So I select the first task, which is move users, and then move them to any OU that I want. And if I'd like to define the OU, you do it from right here. You just hit the edit sign and you have the tree view popping up. You can just go ahead and modify or define an OU. So let me just go ahead and switch domains. Okay, so now move users. So you have the tree view right here. Now once you have the tree view, you can just go ahead and choose the right OU that you want. Okay, so after choosing the right OU, what I would like to do is I have 2 options. I can define an instant task which will be taking place as soon as the move users operation is over, or if I'd like to give it some time, let's say I'd like to wait for 5 days and then execute or automate the second process, which is removing users from security groups or removing the inactive users from all group membership. And you might wonder, why do you need to remove inactive users from all their group memberships? The reason is you might have some admin accounts which you would find in the inactivity report. So you better be sure that you rip them off from all the groups so that their accounts are not being misused. Okay, especially the security groups. To be on the safer side, I'm just going to remove them from all the groups that they are members of. Okay, so remove them from all groups, or if you'd like to select any specific group, you can define it by clicking the link right here. Okay, so now this is the second task. The first one is move users. The second one is I'm going to remove them from all the groups. And the next task is I'm going to wait for 7 days and disable the user account. And last, I'm just going to wait for 30 days and delete them from Active Directory. So we have now defined 4 actions. I find out the inactive users. I'll show you how to find that. And after getting a list of users who have not logged into your Active Directory structure for the past 120 days, you move users to a different OU, wait for 5 days, remove them from all the groups, and then wait for another week, disable them, wait for 30 days, and delete the user accounts from Active Directory. And you hit save. So we have not executed the policy yet. We have just created an action item. So removing inactive users from AD is going to be the name of the policy. So in order to execute a policy that you've created, you need to go to the automation tab. All right, so if you go to the automation tab, you need to create a new automation. So only if you create an automation, you'll be able to link the policy to the automation. So I'm just going to give it a name. Removing inactive users, and In case you're using multiple domains, always remember to select the right domain. Removing inactive users. And now is the step from where I select the policy that we just created. And the name of the policy is, if I go to select automation policy, you have it right here, removing inactive users from AD. Now this policy has 4 actions: moving, disabling, removing users from groups, and deleting user accounts after a certain time period between the actions. Okay, so now I've defined the policy and I need to provide an input. I need to tell the application to find out the list of users who have not logged into my Active Directory structure for the past 120 days. And how would I define that, or how would I tell the application to do it? Do not worry, we have a reporting section just for that. Now, if you just hit the select link, you have reports within ADManager Plus you have the reporting tab right here. You would find most of the reports in the reporting section. Okay, so you have these many reports that you can pick and choose from. You just select the appropriate report. Now, what are we trying to find here? We are trying to find the users who have not logged into your structure, I mean your AD structure, for the past 120 days, for which you select the inactive users report. And you select the inactivity, you define the inactivity time period here. And if you'd like to refine your search, you can use these check boxes, which is exclude disabled users from the search, or exclude never logged on users, or you can use add conditions. So if you'd like to exclude certain service accounts or certain sensitive accounts, or let's say you have on-site employees and you don't want the account to be modified by the automation, you can just go ahead and define any condition right here and execute the automation accordingly. Okay, for now I'm just going with a plain search, which is search for users who have not logged into my Active Directory structure for the past 120 days. I hit save. And as I said, if you'd like to execute this on a daily basis, weekly, yes, you can do it. But since this is going to be an Active Directory cleanup, I better execute this once every month. So I just set it to run at monthly basis, and I can just go ahead and pick and choose the date from here. So run at monthly on any date that I want. So let's say on the 10th of every month at 10 a.m. in the morning. Okay, so I just pick and choose the date. So on the 10th at 10 a.m. in the morning. And if I'd like an immediate execution, I hit save and run, which means the automation will be executing once now, the minute you hit save and run, and then it would wait for the 10th of the next month. Or if I just hit save, the automation will be executed in the next month. Okay, now without providing an input in the form of a report, if you have a list of users that you'd like to wipe out from Active Directory in the form of a CSV file, you can always provide the CSV file by going to the select more option here. Just go to the select more option and you provide the CSV file that has the list of users that you'd like to wipe out from Active Directory. So you can do that as well. Okay, for now we're just going with the report section. So we tell the application to find out users who have not logged into your structure, and then we execute. We tell the application to execute the tasks one by one based on the time that we have defined. And for instance, if you'd like to execute the automation against certain OUs in your Active Directory structure instead of focusing on the entire domain, you have an option to do that as well. You just go to the add OUs and you have the OU structure right here. You just pick and choose the OUs against which you want the automation to be executed. Okay, and then hit OK, so that the automation will be executed only against the OUs that we have chosen and not against the entire domain. Okay, as in the case of any automation, if you are not comfortable leaving the automation part to the application, you'd like to review and then allow actions to take place in Active Directory, you just go with implement business workflow. So you just implement business workflow, which means you as administrators will be notified as soon as the date is there. The date is there, and then you can just go to the workflow section, have a look at the request. If you find that the request is valid, you approve it, else reject it. As simple as that. So you also have a track for the automation, in the sense if you'd like to find out whether the automation has executed a specific task, and if yes, when did it execute, you have an option to do that as well. So once you save the automation, okay, so once you save the automation, if you go to the execution, you have a small icon which reads execution history. So if you just hit execution history, you will be able to find out the actions that the automation has done with the exact timestamp. And if the automation fails for some reason, you'll be able to get the exact reason for the failure as well. So you can just go ahead and create any number of automation you want, one for user creation, one for user modification, and one for cleaning up your Active Directory structure. So you can just go ahead and create any number of automation. Another interesting use case is, for instance, you might have often seen this. People would have requested administrators, to grant them access to certain applications. And you as administrators, what you do is you assign them to certain groups on a temporary basis. But the problem is, you assign them or you make them members of certain groups, so let's say top level security groups, so that the users can gain access to the application. But we forget to revoke the access 90% of the time, and that's where the problem is. So you can leave it to the application. So adding users to certain groups and removing users from those groups once they have done accessing the application can be automated. How do you do that? Again, you go to user automation, you go to automation policy, because we are talking about two actions here, which is adding to a group and removing from a group. So I've already created let's say an automation policy, and I've named it SQL application access. Okay, if I just open this, I have add to a group and I have remove from the same group. Okay, so add group and remove group. So remove action will be done on the next day. So for instance, I add them to certain groups on day 1. Day 2, I remove them from the same groups, okay, that I've assigned. So I just go ahead and define the groups here for the add group and the remove group section, and I hit update. And in order to execute the automation policy, I go to automation, and then I create a new automation, and I go to select automation policy, and you have right here SQL application access. You select the process, you just import the CSV file, because for this case you cannot give the input in the form of a report. You need to create a CSV file and save it in some network path that is accessible by the application. And the CSV file should contain the name, just the name of the user accounts. That's it. So you add 2 users in the CSV file to a specific group on day 1. Day 2, the same file will be used as an input, so that the automation will remove those users from those groups. So this is another example of how you can use the automation. Okay, now apart from that, you can use this automation to reset password, unlock user accounts. Let's say you have service accounts and you don't want those service accounts to be unlocked for any reason. So you can just go with the unlock process, unlock user accounts, and then select locked out users, hit OK, and set it to execute against a certain OU. Let's say you have a separate OU for the service accounts. Yes, you can just go ahead and tell the automation to look for locked out users in that specific OU on an hourly basis, and if there are any locked out accounts, just go ahead and unlock them immediately and automatically. Okay, so there are a lot more features. I would request you to just play with the application, create a test automation, maybe in your test environment, and then see how it goes. And if at all, if you have any issues, or if you'd like to automate few other stuffs in Active Directory, your suggestions are, we always welcome your suggestions. And just to let you know, we have plans of integrating the automation piece with the top HR databases. So instead of you manually specifying the contents in the CSV file, we have also plans of telling the application to talk to the HR database, retrieve the information from the database, and then create user accounts in Active Directory. and we have already started working on it, and we'll make sure to keep you posted once the feature is available in the application. All right, so next I'm going to introduce you to the mobile apps section. So we are nearing the end of this workshop, so uh, I'll be more than happy to take you to the mobile apps section. And where do you go to in order to access or download the mobile app? Very simple. You go to the home tab, you have it right here. You go to the home tab, and then you have, if you just scroll down and if you have a look at the right hand side, you have a section which is ADManager Plus mobile apps. So you have an Android app as well as an iPhone app for your mobile. So you just click on the links here, just go to the Android app section, and if you have an iPhone, you just download the iPhone app. So Android and iPhone apps for ADManager Plus. And what can you do with these apps? You have it right here. So this is how the app would look like. For those of you who have installed the app, you can just have a look at your screen, I mean your smartphone screen. For those of you who have not installed, you can maybe try installing it. I mean, the size is less than 2 megabytes, so it's not going to consume a lot of space. And let me tell you how this application works. So for this application, or for this mobile app to work, you need to make sure that your smartphone is connected to your Active Directory domain. In a sense, it should be connected to your Active Directory network. It can be your office Wi-Fi. Okay, so once your smartphone is connected to your office network, you can just type the username and password, I mean the ADManager Plus credential right here, and specify the server setting. The server setting is where the application is installed, and you just specify the protocol, whether it's HTTP or HTTPS. You save the setting. Now once you save the setting, the app will start talking to the ADManager Plus server, which in turn has connectivity to your Active Directory structure. And what can you do from the app? You can enable users, disable users, reset password, unlock, delete, and even modify their group membership. Okay, so this is how the user details screen would look like. So even before unlocking a user account, if you like to have a look at the user's properties, you just click on a specific user account, and you have the user attributes right here. And if you'd like to unlock, just select a specific user and then hit unlock. You can just go ahead and unlock. And if you'd like to add a specific user to, let's say, 2 or 3 groups, let's say any temporary access, and you are not at your desk, so you can just go ahead and select the user account, add them to a system, remove them from groups, or set any group as primary, and then hit update. So this is a free mobile app. So the app does not store your username or password. The username and password is, the password is not stored anywhere in the app. So this is just used as a token, authentication token, in order to establish a connection between the mobile app and the ADManager Plus server. All right, so that's about the mobile app. I would request you to just install the app and then play with the app a bit. And if at all, if you have any suggestions or if you'd like to see more features, your feedback is very important to us. Okay, and the last section or the last topic is about troubleshooting. So in order to find out some of the common issues, all you need to do is just go to the help link right here. If you go to the help link, and then you have a separate section for troubleshooting some of the common tips. So this section is not for troubleshooting, but for knowing the prerequisites, and if you have any errors that arise in the application because of any prerequisites not being met, you know how to deal with those problems by going through the section. You go to troubleshooting tips. So you have a question or you have an issue, you just click, and then you have the answer for that. So you have most of the troubleshooting steps included right here. So if you need to get in touch with a tech team for something that is not here in the list, all you need to do is just go to ADManager Plus, hit the support tab, and then you can always drop an email or initiate a chat session from the application itself. And we also have knowledge bases right here, documents and videos. So you can just go ahead and have a look whenever you have time. So a quick recap on today's session. So we saw how to automate user provisioning, how to perform our cleanup, how to automate Active Directory cleanup, how do you grant temporary access to business data, and then how do you use your mobile app, or I'm sorry, what are the options that are available in the mobile app and how to deploy it, and some of the troubleshooting tips and tricks. All right. So once again, thank you very much for being with us all throughout the series. As I said, we have plans of conducting many more workshops in future under various topics. And if you have any topics that you feel that would be interesting, or if you'd like to know more about a specific topic, please do let us know. We'd be more than happy to conduct a workshop on that. Okay. Thank you very much for joining today's workshop. You all have a nice evening. Bye-bye.